Hello everyone, and June the 17th, Wednesday, and what a day it's been. It's been a very long day as well. So this morning, 2 a.m., it was Argentina versus Algeria in the World Cup, and Argentina won 3-0 thanks to a Lionel Messi hat-trick. So today's episode, we're going to be talking about Lionel Messi, and there's so much to talk about. And you thought that how much more can you talk about Messi, but keeps surprising us, but some of us he's not surprising. So just gonna list off some stats with his hat trick that he got yesterday. So becomes the oldest and the youngest Argentina player to score at the World Cup. I think he was 19 when he scored his first goal. He becomes the top goal scorer with 16 goals alongside Miroslav Klose. He's the oldest player to score a hat-trick in the World Cup. He becomes the player with the most goal contributions at a World Cup. He's equal the record for the most goals from outside the box at the World Cup with 5. And I think Rivellino is the other player. And just on the one before the most goal contributions, I think it was Pele that is beaten. So Messi's on 24 now. Messi has become the player with the goals in most different World Cup games with 12. He's equalled the record of scoring at 5 different World Cups. He's become the 4th Argentinian with a World Cup hat-trick. It was his 10th World Cup goal since turning 35. He scored against the most different countries at a World Cup with 11. And he's the 3rd player to reach 200 caps for his country. And he's the first player ever to play in 6 World Cups. I think there's a couple of more players maybe that will reach that record as well during this World Cup. So basically, if you're a Messi fan, it was a wonderful night, and especially if he was on social media after the match as well, it's just wonderful seeing everybody celebrate Messi and what he did and the magic that he brought to the World Cup, all that anticipation building up. And you still hear the debates go on, and to be fair and to be honest, I'm not a big fan of them names being mentioned. I think the program even started, I think it was on ITV maybe, or even earlier in the day, one of the other matches, or who's the best player ever, this, that, and the other. And it's just like these debates are being had over and over and over again, and like what's really going to change like an opinion, like you know, I guess for most people it's one of them things, it's good to debate, but it's a bit futile as well. So for me and this podcast, especially I want it to be for people that love football, that have a passion for it, and love the truth, like not let biases. I mean, we're all emotional when it comes to football. It's an emotional game, and we all have feelings towards particular players or our teams that we've supported. But I think not just this podcast about football, but just in general in life, it should be the truth that is the biggest thing. Everybody should want to get to the truth, or as close to the truth or in and around as possible, and like debate ideas, but it should be like what's the actual truth, not what I think or what I want to be the truth, but what are some facts, or what can you see, or stuff like that. And it's hard again, because if you ask somebody who's your favorite player, it's going to be opinions, and people like things for different reasons. Like it might have been the first player you've seen at the World Cup, it might have been a player who played for, there's so many different reasons. But there are certain points where like you can't debate, or the debates are just silly, and it's just like there's no point having those conversations. Well, I don't want to have them conversations anyway. So, like I said, when it comes to Messi, it's not just about the numbers that people always talk about, the numbers, but it's like if you take away his goals, even in the match yesterday, like what about the joy that he brings you? Like when you watch a football player play, why do you watch football? What are you looking for in a player? So obviously, if you've got a defender, you're going to be looking at different things from a striker or a playmaker or a winger. Um, with Messi, his first touch, he's going to be turning 39 next week, I think. So, what's his first touch like? What's his passing like? Dribbling, goal scoring or shooting accuracy? Like, what does he do during the 90 minutes of the game? Or is he just like poor for like 85 minutes and then suddenly out of nowhere he'll just shoot in the top corner and then everyone will be like, oh yeah, see, we told you he's the best. But for the other 85 minutes, like, his touch was just all over the place. I think a bit like Kylian Mbappe. He scored 2 goals for France in their victory against Ivory Coast. And the first half was really bad, but in the second half he picked it up and he looked like genuine world class player. So like somebody like Mbappe, obviously he's got pace and the certain things that he can do when he's on his game, almost unstoppable. But can you be considered like a goal of the game or the best player in the world if like for half the match your touches are terrible? I don't know. For me, I'm not sure. For me, that's why I think when we done the Yamal podcast, is that if you watch Yamal play, you're not really worried, oh, he's gonna have a bad touch. You expect every touch to be like the touch that is needed for that situation, or like the pass or the idea of the pass. So those and that's constant every match. That's expectations of that player. So same with Messi. You've got to watch Messi, like we said. It's difficult, I know, for people to watch Messi, and even now he's going to Inter Miami, and some people were like, "Oh, we didn't expect him to be like this." It's like if you don't watch him play, obviously you probably expect something different, and that's throughout his career, and that's why Messi is almost his own worst enemy in a way, because, like I always say, if you have a match, every single match is going to have a man of the match, and that highlight will be maybe a couple of minutes. So every player can look like he was incredible, but how many times is he going to do that? So with Messi, the highlights almost make him look like everybody else, whereas if you watch the 90 minutes of Messi, no player can touch him. So if you had like, obviously now he's a bit older, but say even in his prime, or say 5, 6, 7 years ago, if you pick like any player in the world, you could choose like 5, 6, say 10 players, and you chose randomly, obviously the top players played the most matches. If you pick, I'm going to choose 30 or 40 random matches of this player from a season, and we're going to see what level they were at. So one match could have been the first match of the season, and the next match could have been the last game of the season. One match could have been against the bottom team, or so just like a mix of matches, any random 40 matches, and you watch the whole 90 minutes of those games. Nobody's coming close to Messi. Nobody. And that's the difference between him. Because obviously if you choose highlights, then it narrows it down and it makes everybody else look better, but it almost makes Messi look worse. So those are the levels. And like I said, not many people appreciate that. People are just here for nuance. Not even nuance. It's just like, oh, he scored 2 goals in a match, so he's the best player, or this, that, and that's that. Like Klose was on 16 goals, I think one more than R9. So does that mean Klose is a better player than R9? No. So you've got this podcast, like I said, is for those kind of people who are looking a bit deeper, and not just like the superficial or just like kind of egotistical way, and don't have a different way of looking at football, or like thinking about why they think about certain things. So like I said, Messi for me is the untouchable, um, and it's the joy that he brings. Like when you watch him play, he does things even now. I think Gary Lineker mentions it. Like he'll always do things in a match, and you're thinking, wow. And obviously, when he was younger, he used to do much, much more. But now he still does it, and that's the joy that he brings, and it's makes people wonder, like in awe, like wow, look what he's just done, or nearly went in, or look at that pass, or that creativity, or dribbling past players, the drop of the shoulder, and just emotion that he brings to the game when you watch him. And I think a lot of people just look at stats and stuff like that, but you can't measure Messi by stats. Like I was saying to somebody before, how do you measure those emotions? How do you measure those feelings? You can't measure them with a calculator. Goals and assists you can, but you can't measure certain things from Messi. I think it was his 61st career hat-trick as well. First player ever to score 809 penalty goals, and that's in 1,153 matches. And another thing about Messi, when he scored the first goal, I think he was crying, I think during the celebration. And I think after the match as well, he was talking about it's been a tough few days or week for him, and it's got nothing to do with football. So I'm not sure exactly what that was, but hopefully it's nothing too serious. And he was saying like everybody's being supportive of him, the team around him, the squad, and the backroom stuff. So hopefully, like I said, that's nothing too serious. And he got substituted. I think he was in the 78th minute. So I was hoping that he would after the hat trick, just so the crowd could give him the applause, and also he gets his rest as well. So yeah, like I said, I can't ask more from God from Messi, because I think all my wishes were done for the World Cup in 2022. But just keep him fit, and hopefully we can enjoy him for as long as possible, because I think this is going to be his last Vars international tournament with Argentina, and I think he might retire from international football, whatever happens after this tournament. So keep enjoying Messi for as long as you can, because I don't think that we're ever going to see somebody like him for as long. Yamal has got a chance in terms of talent wise, but what Messi's done for 20 years, week in, week out, I don't know if anybody will be able to match that. So, like I said, if you love Messi like I do, it was a great night just to see everybody's adulation from him, for him, from everyone, and long may that continue. And like I said, just thank you, Messi, for everything you've done. Like I said, we were in the trenches watching matches on like very bad streams, may I say, 10 years ago, etc., when Messi was going to like South America and playing at altitude in the World Cup qualifiers, and we were up to like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, watching Argentina play, and they were so bad. And he was like, how are we gonna, how are we gonna get out of this hole? So we've been there, and it was tough. And to see what he's done now in Argentina, you could never have thought that was going to be possible during those times. So very, very grateful. Very, very grateful. And like I say, can't thank Lionel Messi enough for everything that he's done for us and for the game of football. So just enjoy him, like I will try to do as much as possible, and hopefully he can score more goals and give more joy to everyone during this World Cup. Thank you very much for listening.